President Obama continued his effort to normalize U.S. relationship with Cuba. After meeting with President Castro early April during the Americas Summit, he recently removed Cuba from the list of states that sponsor terrorism. Susan Eckstein, Boston University professor of sociology and international relations, agreed to talk with us about impact of the president's decision in the United States and abroad. So what's your opinion on the normalization of U.S. relations with Cuba?
I am delighted. It's long overdue. As President Obama said, a policy that doesn't work for 50 years doesn't work. And it certainly has not achieved the goals that the U.S. government had wanted. And it's hurt Cuba, but not to the extent that the U.S. wanted, because they had hoped if strangling the country economically, it would lead to the collapse of the regime. But as we know, the regime is alive and well, even if it could be a lot better in terms of economic conditions.
So President Obama and President Castro recently met early April during the Americas Summit. So how was this meeting perceived by the Cubans?
I think Cubans are just anxiously watching. They really do hope that relations improve. For many years, they were told all their hardships were due to the embargo. So the embargo is not going, but any step in the direction of normalizing relations, I think Cubans feel is a good trend.
Based on your research, how have Cuban-American changed the United States?
Cuban-Americans have been very influential. They've completely transformed Miami, which used to be a small city where snowbirds went for vacation. And they made it, they really oversaw Miami becoming a large city and a Hispanic city. And the Cubans were really the ones who did that. They changed the culture, they made it a bilingual city, and also in terms of building bridges across the hemisphere economically.
Marco Rubio, who's the son of a Cuban immigrant, announced that he will run for the presidential election.
I think Rubio will get a high percentage of the Cuban-American vote because they vote, for their own. And also, many of the Cuban Americans are Republicans, about roughly 2/3. The Cuban Americans have overwhelmingly voted Republican. They're very different in their politics than the other Hispanics.
What role may Cuba play in the next presidential election?
The real question will be whether Congress votes to end the embargo. And Obama is not pushing for that now, because maybe he thinks if he supports ending the embargo, Congress is going to vote to maintain it, since they do whatever he doesn't want. But it also may be more strategic that he thinks other changes should happen first, and then it will, it's inevitable that the U.S. will get rid of the embargo at some point. But, it takes Congress to do it. It's a congressional law, so Congress has to end it as well.
I want to thank Professor Eckstein for her valuable insight on the ongoing process of normalizing U.S. relations with Cuba. For Arlington Public News, this is Yawa Digboe.